Hi everyone, welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. Today's card involves a chick, but it's more than that. I'm super excited to share with you the brand new Duo embossing folders. Here's the card that I'm going to be teaching you today. You can see the embossing here on the side. I'll make sure we get a little better close-up when we get to the stamp table. But the great thing about this folder is that it de-embosses, which means the impression goes down instead of up. Lots of fun, and who can resist that crazy bird, right? Let's get over to the stamp table and let's get started. I think now you can see better what I'm talking about with that de-embossed image. Isn't that cute how the word happy actually is embedded in the paper? There are some raised areas. It's real thin on the inside. I'm actually going to show you the product. So this is the happy. And there's another one in there, that's why it's called a duo. This one says celebrate. I've embossed the celebrate for you here so that you can actually see it. Now the reverse side, of course, is backwards, but that is the raised side that we're typically used to with embossing folders. You'll be able to find these folders in the Occasions catalog. They are new this year. The stamp set that we're using today is Hey Chick. It's a free selection when you purchase $50. The sale is going on through March 31st, and there's lots of fabulous things in here to choose from. Of course, this is just one of them. So let's go ahead and get this card started. I'm using a piece of Whisper White cardstock. You can find all the cutting dimensions for today's card over on my blog. If you're watching from my YouTube channel, you'll find the link below in the description. I've made it easy for you to get there. This is just a bone folder. I like to use that to create that nice crisp crease on my card. And then I've cut another panel of Whisper White cardstock. This is actually where we're going to do the embossing. So I have my embossing folder here. Now here it is, confession time. Do you see this corner here and this corner here? Yeah, unfortunately this is the second folder that I've been through because my customers did not realize it does not fit through the Big Shot this way. You have to put it in this way. It's just a hair too big. So it's gotten a little bit chewed off on each of the ends. So be very careful with that as you go to use yours. So I'm going to make sure the word happy is facing up and that's legible. And then what you're going to want to do is make sure that the edge of your cardstock is at the edge of the embossing folder. That'll ensure you won't have a seam here when you go ahead and crank it through. So I'm looking and that all looks good. Let me bring in my Big Shot. I'm using the Big Shot platform with my Big Shot and a clear mat on the bottom. Again, it's going to go this way, not this way. Do you see how it's just a hair too wide? It looks like it'll fit, but it won't. And this is proof that it won't. So go ahead and lay it on there sideways. And then I'm going to put another clear mat over the top. And then we're just going to crank this through. So here we have our de-embossed piece. Isn't that neat? That's so much fun. Let's finish putting this card together. I want to add the word birthday here under the embossed image. I know that's kind of hard to see because it's white on white. But I took the words out of the Tin of Cards stamp set. Don't be afraid to use verbiage from the other collection of stamps that you already own. They really fill in nicely. So I'm using Memento ink. I'm a big fan of Memento ink with photopolymer stamps. And I'm going to go ahead and ink that up, and I'm going to stamp that here near the bottom of my embossed words. I'm going to turn the card back the horizontal way, and this is where I'm going to stamp my little crazy chicken. Now I want to make sure I leave a little room at the top so I can compensate for the hat. So I'm going to go ahead and ink him up. I'm just going to use Memento on him as well. And I'm going to stamp him here near the bottom, again leaving room for the hat. On a scrap piece of Bermuda Bay cardstock, I am going to stamp this party hat. This party hat comes from the stamp set called Better Together. It's actually a 2-bundle stamp set. There's lots of greetings for both the inside and the outside of your cards, as well as some real simple images that are really easy to use. Those of you that have purchased my studio stamps in the mail will remember enjoying this bundle of stamps along with your pre-cut supplies in December. Now, if you missed those projects, you can head over to my PDF project tutorial library and you can see them there. So I'm going to stamp this on that Bermuda Bay cardstock scrap using that same black Memento ink. This is just going to be fussy cut, so I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to leave a little bit of a cardstock border around here. Now, whether or not you leave the pom-pom at the top is entirely up to you. I'm just going to kind of go around it because we're going to end up covering it with an embellishment when we're finished, and then a little bit more cardstock around the side here, and then just across the bottom. This is a really, really easy image to cut out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Stampin' chalk marker. This is white. I like to get it started on my scratch paper to make sure that it's flowing well, and I'm just going to fill in those areas that have polka dots right on top of my little party hat. This is optional. You certainly don't have to do it, but I like to give this a little bit of a dimension, and of course bring in that white background a little bit to my overall card. So I'm just going to fill those in. The chalk marker works wonderfully. It's got a nice chiseled tip, so you'll be able to get into those little small areas with no trouble at all. And then you're just going to want to let that sit and dry for about a minute. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and color them in, and I'm going to use the brand new Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencils. Oh, I'm having so much fun with these. Now, I'm going to tell you that I'm actually using Whisper White cardstock. Now, watercoloring, whether you're using a blender pen, which is what I'm going to use today, or an aqua painter, is a lot easier for beginners on either watercolor paper or shimmery white cardstock. It's a little bit more absorbent. But I'm going to give you some tips as I go along so that you can be successful on Whisper White cardstock as well. I'm going to pull out the yellow and a little bit of an orange color and a little bit of a brown color. The pencils are labeled here at the bottom, which is a good thing because the black and the brown look so similar. So they're labeled with our regular color palette. So I've got espresso, I've got daffodil, and pumpkin pie. There's several ways you can use watercolor pencils. I'm going to give you just one way today. I have an upcoming tip video that's going to really help you to show you the variations of how they can be used. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lay my color down first. So I'm going to work with my yellow, and I'm going to lay my yellow down, and you're going to notice I'm going to work mostly on the outside. The other thing is, the great thing about these images when they are sketched out by our designers at Stampin' Up!, our artists, they put the definition lines in there for you. So I'm going to go ahead and go over those kind of heavy because those are going to be where I want them to be darker. And then a little bit around my outside and just a little bit of color. Now, if you want, you can color the whole thing in and then use your blender pen and just smooth out the lines. It's whatever's going to work for you. So I'm going to do a little bit here on his tail. I'm going to add a little bit at the tip. And then, of course, his feet, I'm going to make orange. And I'm going to do the same here. This is such a small area. You can see I'm laying down more color. And a little bit here inside his beak. And I'm going to make the tips of his tail a little bit more orange. I want that to be a little bit different color. Now, if you want to add some highlights in here, you can do that as well. So add just a little bit in there. And then his hair. I want a little yellow in it, so I'm going to kind of color right over it. But I do want it mostly brown because I want him to look kind of moppy. Kind of like a bad hair day, right? So I'm going to color that in, and then we're just going to move around some color with the blender pen. So let me show you how this works. The blender pen has two ends. They're identical. There's a chemical in the barrel of the pen that moistens the tips. It does not matter which one that you use. The tips do become stained with usage over time, but it does not hurt it. And I'll show you how to clean it in between changing colors. So I like to start with the lightest color first. So I'm going to start with my yellow areas, and I'm going to begin to blend. And I'm going to pull that color from the outside where I've laid the majority of my pencil to the inside. Now I've got color on this end as well, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull it from the outside and pull it to the inside. It's completely okay to have some white and opaque areas. That's just going to add definition. I'm going to work inside the tail, pulling that color up, and then I'm going to pull the orange right into it. I'm fine with these two colors blending and bleeding together because that's what I'm looking for here. All right. What you don't want to do is scribble with this. You kind of want to use it like a brush. Now I'm going to clean it because I'm going to go to the beak and the feet, and I want to make sure that I stay with an orange tone. And I've muddied this up a little bit by blending. So hold the blender pen sideways on your scratch paper and roll it. And you'll see here how the color is literally coming off. Make sure you're rolling the pen because it'll go all the way around because of the chemical. It'll also seep down. So if you just do this, not only are you going to split the tip on your pen over time, you're only going to get the color that's right at the tip. So you want to make sure you get it all the way off. So I'm going to come down here to the feet and I'm going to blend that. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to blend the hair. Again, I'm going to clean it one more time, get that orange off, and now I'm going to go to his little moppy do, and I'm going to blend this in. So I'm stroking, I'm going kind of quickly. I don't need to be precise with this because those strands are a little all over the place. Now, if you decide now you want more color, let's clean off the brush. Let's say you want more brown in his hair, so we'll add more brown. Let's add more brown. Let's say you want more yellow on these definition lines. You can go back and add more, or you can just leave the pencil marks there. It's just a fun way. The other thing I need to tell you is because this is not watercolor paper, you're going to want to let it sit for a few minutes and dry, because this is going to make the paper moist. If you go over an area on the Whisper White cardstock too much, the paper will begin to pile, and you'll see that it looks kind of broken down. So I'm going to give that just a minute. We're going to go over that again. I'm just going to go really lightly this time, and I've added a little bit more of moppy hair. So I'm just going to leave my pencil marks there because I like them. And we're all set. But you know what? He kind of looks like he's floating, doesn't he? So inside this packet, there is a perfect, beautiful, basic gray pencil. So I'm going to sketch a little bit of color underneath his feet to give him a little bit of a platform, making sure my blender pen is clean. And I'm just going to move around that color a little bit. So you can see I'm using it kind of like a pencil, and I'm just stretching it out. So there we go. So now he's got a little bit of ground to stand on. Let's add his party hat. So this is nice and dry now. I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to take a dimensional and I'm going to add that to the back. But I also want a little piece up here. And the reason I do is I want to make sure that when it gets mailed, it doesn't flop around inside when it goes through the mail meter. So I'm taking my paper snips and I'm cutting my dimensionals literally in half. So I end up with a smaller piece. These smaller pieces are just a godsend because they're going to fit on all these little narrow areas that you might want to fill. So I'm going to press my nail here in the center. And I'm going to lift off the paper backing to those dimensionals, and then I'm going to add his party hat. So I'm going to move it all the way down. We're going to make him kind of crazy there. There we go. And now we're going to add a small embellishment. These are the Brights enamel shapes. You get a varied amount of different colors from the Brights collection, and you get stars and hearts and dots. And you can choose any of these to add to here. And you know, you can be completely matchy-matchy if you want. And of course, this is going to match. Or we can do something fun by picking a totally different color. Let's go with something fun. Let's take an orange one. They already have the glue dots on the back. So I'm just going to lift this up with my paper piercing tool. And then I'm going to add this to the very top of that party hat. We've got a little bit of paper there, so it's going to stick. And look, so that panel is all finished. I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to add dimensionals now in each of the four corners. And I'm going to add one to the center. And I do that again because it's going to go through the mail meter and I want to make sure it's not going to sag. I'm going to take off that paper backing to each of those dimensionals. Again, that reveals the other sticky side, so we don't need any other adhesive besides this. This is what's great. This is the base of my card, and I'm going to go ahead and just center that on that front white panel. There we go. Easy, huh? Isn't that cute? Here's the card that we made today, and here's the card I made before you joined me. Remember to head over to my blog. There's pictures there, a supply list, and the cutting dimensions for this project. Also, check out my online classes tab where I've got project PDF tutorials and stamps in the mail for you. I'm so glad that you joined me today, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.